Hey! Hey! Couche!
I see. Papa Shay.
I'm the king of rock. There is none higher. Sucker MCs should all be higher. To run my kingdom, you must see fire. I won't stop rocking till I retire.
Like a dog without a bone, an actor out alone. Riders on the storm.
And the music was good and the music was loud.
Stan, you like that intro, don't you?
That was a nice little out there. That was easy.
You know that that's me, right? That's me.
Nah, that's Photoshop. That's AI.
No, that's me when I was a little bit chubby. But no, straight up. So that's at Wolfgang's field, right?
Mhm.
And if you notice, I was only running one blind because when you're getting ready for IPO, it's one blind, right? We had this motherfucker dialed in with the dumbbell work. In 2 weeks, he was doing. My man Wolfgang's like Brinks. He was trying to find that dumbbell, dog. It was a great bonding time. You know, I always tell people that animals, dogs, do one of many things that humans can't possibly do, right? And that's stay consistent.
Yep.
You know, you can be gone 2 hours, 2 years, 2 days, 2 minutes, and that dog gonna still run up to that door as if you just left, right? Now, when he doesn't do that or she doesn't do that tail wagging, you know something's physically wrong with them.
Yeah.
Like, that ain't them, right? They're predictable. And so I don't know one human, including my wife or my mother, rest her soul. I don't know one human that can be consistent like that. No matter what's going on in their life, they still consistent. It's not happening. Right. So for me, I see now why because I didn't get that. And people, we're gonna do a grand introduction to my guy Stan. I used to trip on when people would cry when their dogs die, right before I got one. I was like, man, get another goddamn dog. That's hold on. Sorry.
There you go. Technology straight to it.
Yeah. I said, get another dog, right? And let me turn this heat down because now we talking my language. And then after the red dog you got, that was Alonzo. He was a chocolate Doberman that I had imported from Hungary. I had just got him after my ex-wife, well, soon to be ex-wife at that time, moved out of my crib and moved back into her house. Mm-hmm. And that dog, man, got me out of depression. Of course, you got to walk the dog, right? You can't shit in the house. He got me to smell the air, had me meeting people with the same interest, animals. Yeah. And man, he listen, you know, I don't live in the hood, but I do training in the hood, right? And one thing about the brothers in the hood, who are trainers, who are hardcore trainers, they test your dog. You don't know if they tested them or not because you don't know what they're doing. But when they grabbing the muzzle and grabbing their paws and trying to make them run, and then realize that my boy wasn't running, I was like, is this special? I don't know, right? And this motherfucker was like, he was the one, man. It's like, so when he died at 10 years of age from kidney cancer, it struck me then, like, man, this motherfucker got me out of a lot of jams, you know. Actually, when I was going through divorce, I was going through bankruptcy too. So yeah, so 2011, man, going into 2011, and it was like, this motherfucker was getting me out of, he kept the lights on, literally, man. I was breathing the shit out of him, like, oh, $800? Oh, shit, no problem. So he was contributing to the household. So for me, it was like, I see why now.
Mhm.
Right? And that's why there be two things that no matter what woman I have in my life, no matter what the financial situation will be, I'm going to have two things in my life: a dog and a hybrid vehicle. You can't go wrong with either one of them. Okay, people,
He said a hybrid. Didn't
you
expect.
can't go wrong with that, right? You
Didn't
can't go
expect
wrong.
that one.
Right.
Hey, I don't know.
So,
I need me a nice SUV.
you know what though? I know it sounds funny, but how about the minivans? Come on now.
And a couple people keep saying that, but as a daily driver, I rented one when we went to Florida for a competition. It's great. It has space. It's good on gas. But like walking up to it, you're not like, hey, that's my car. Like you're just like,
Yeah, but when you get that shit wrapped with your logo and stuff,
yeah. But sometimes you want to be incognito, a black and black on black Tahoe.
get that fucking that Nissan Sienna whatever with it got the hips and the skirts and it's hybrid. Trust me, if this Prius go the fuck out, I'm getting me a minivan. I don't give a shit what nobody say. I mean, I still got the Grand National and the Jag and the Rivian, but daily driver hybrid.
Minivan. Gotcha.
Anyway, people, I like to introduce. I consider him a friend. We met through a mutual friend. My man Stan from Iron Sharp Kennels, based out of the DFW.
What up?
For those who don't know what that means, that means the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Okay, this ain't the DMV. I had to realize what the fuck that means, and that I think it stands for what the DC, Maryland, Virginia. Yeah,
I was thinking about the demilitarized zone.
yeah. So this is my man Stan from Iron Sharp Kennels. It was a pleasure meeting him when I went down there to Dallas and collab with Trevor on that thing called Fit Bully. Now it's called Planet
World Pet.
Yeah. So he changed the name. Of course, he's always on the next level, the next page, the next chapter. And I had the opportunity and the pleasure to actually watch you in action, dog. Dude, listen, man. You know, I consider myself, I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, born and raised, right? I'm a country boy. But I've been in California now longer than I've lived in Mississippi because I moved out here when I was 22. Right? And I'm 53. And I've seen a lot of shit, man, out here. Brothers do a lot of things with Frenchies and making them do, heel and bark and hold and bark. And, I've seen a lot of shit. But I never seen an Australian Shepherd like the one you had dialed in. People, you got to go to my page to see how this motherfucker dialed in. Because what's interesting, man, is that, and we get to that later. But, man, Stan, tell the people while you're sipping on your yak, okay? Tell the people who you are, how long you've been in the game. Let's hear it, man.
Well, like you said, my name is Stan Smith from Iron Sharp Canine. I've been in the dog game for about 10 years now, and it was actually a tragic story that got me into it. When I was in college, I had a dog, nice pit bull. I paid about $350 for him. I was like, man, this is an expensive dog, but he was a monster. He was nice. He's probably about 60, 70 pounds at like 6 months old, going to be a big dog. And we were in college, and he went out the front door, and I chased him down, and he thought we were in the game. And he ended up trying to cross the street, and he didn't look both ways, and he didn't make it out. And I mean, I was probably less than 5 feet away from him, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through. And like, I literally, I had a couple of my homies with me trying to get him too, and they had to drag him out of the street because I was just like, bro, my dog, like, what the fuck? And that hit me hard. Like, I was like, man. And the next dog I got was, this $100 dog, Rocco. I was walking around the neighborhood.
So you went from 300 to 100, huh?
Man, I'm like, hey, let me go back a little bit. Hold on now. This is before, I was still, working a regular job at the time. So I'm like, man, $100 for something that I'm gonna have to pay for. And that sounds a little better. But he didn't have no papers or anything. It was actually the last dog that the guy had. And when I took him, I just kind of fell in love. Like, it was like, I saw him. I was like, man, he looks like a little teddy bear. He's cute, got good markings. And then I told the guy, I'm like, hey, I get paid on Friday. I'll come pick him up. He's like, bro, you stay around the corner. If you don't pay me, I'll come see you. I was like, bet.
Yeah.
Took him to the house, and knowing everything that I know now, he was confident. His tail was up. He wanted to play tug. He had food drive, everything that you're looking for in a pup. And that was like my first dog that I actually had and was going to work. And he just wanted to work. And like you had talked about, your dog got you out of depression, saved your life. I mean, he kept me out of places because I literally just started taking my dog everywhere I went. And if my dog couldn't go, if somebody had an issue with my dog, I didn't go to those places. And it kept me out of places where the spots got raided, places getting shot up. Like, I would have been there, but my dog wasn't allowed, so I wasn't there. So, I mean, I definitely think about these dogs as like guardian angels. They're more than just, something that's going to work for you. Like, I mean, they'll be there for you in those times where you don't have anybody else. And like you said, you can close the door, open the door, and they're going to be like, oh my God, you're back. And like those reactions and that feeling you can't get from anything else. So,
man, what's interesting, man, and people, this show was more about you guys knowing who we are as individuals and our interests and what piques our interests.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting, man? Humans are so fucking finicky, man. And it seems like the older we get, the worse they get. You know what I'm saying? Like they start, like they say they want to see you do well, but realistically, when you do well, they don't like it.
Well, they want to do well, but just not better than them.
Exactly. And I tend to stay in my own lane now. And I try not to be in that messy ass shit because I got enough stuff going on with my family, me being a patriarch on both sides, being a father, being a husband, being a boss, being a landlord, being an employee, being an employer. And I got I need to bring peace in my life. And animals do that for me, man. I don't listen, when I'm cleaning up dog shit in the backyard, I don't really trip. I don't have a problem with it. I know it's got to be done. I don't like the inclement weather that sometimes come with it, like the rain or the coldness. But man, I don't have a problem with that because I know they give me something in return that money cannot buy. Right? So I want to talk about something, man, that has been bothering me lately. And there's a lot of, I call them granola, plain yogurt eating ass people that walk their dogs on harnesses, big dogs on harnesses versus walking them on chokers, etc. We had an incident in California less than about a week and a half ago. We touched on it prior to going live. And I noticed that this 5-year-old girl gets mauled by 4 dogs that is owned by her parents. And what's funny as fuck to me, not funny, what's weird as fuck to me is that they said that on the news, they said the child has known the dogs her whole life. Well, shit, she only been in the world 5 years.
And probably only around them for 2.
Right. And my thing is, man, I tell people all the time that having a dog is a luxury, not a requirement. Be responsible. And what's your take, man, on people getting these dogs with the propensity to be animals at the end of the day without proper training, man?
I mean, as this case here, it's a recipe for disaster. I mean, you're getting something that was designed to survive and protect itself, and you've never given them limitations, boundaries, routine, anything. And, it sucks to say, but it's like, what was the kid doing to the dogs to make them act out all of a sudden? There could have been something going on. And I mean, the kid was probably left unsupervised, so it is the parents' fault in that instant. Like, I mean, as well trained as my dogs are, like, I'm not leaving my kids unsupervised with them. Like, that's just not going to happen. It just, people forget that they're animals. People forget that they're going to, dog barking with the bark collar.
It's okay.
He's an animal back there.
Yeah.
Barking too much. But people forget that they are going to defend themselves. And it probably wasn't really even like a mauling. It probably was just a really good bite. And I mean, it was a 5-year-old kid with over a 100-pound dog. That's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, Rottweilers and a Rottweiler mix. Yeah. It's a recipe for disaster.
I mean, You try to get around them, they don't play. They're gonna give you a warning. They're gonna look at you. They're gonna growl, and the next thing they're gonna do is they're gonna let you know to leave them alone.
Yeah.
And a pack of dogs, a less confident dog sees the alpha, quote unquote, going and do something. They're gonna join in too. So I think the story said it was like a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old dog that was responsible for it. That dog was probably old, wanted to be left alone, and the kid was probably messing with it, pulling his ears, doing something it wasn't supposed to, and the dog reacted. Then the 6-year-old dog was like, "Oh, that looks like fun. Let's try that."
Yeah. Yeah.
Do it from a place of anger or aggression. It was probably just, "Hey, this looks like fun," and now the kid's screaming like a squeaky toy. You know, these are the kind of things that animals do at the end of the day, especially if they've never had any boundaries ever set for them. And, you know, from the situation, like you said, you can only have so many dogs in California, and they had over the limit. So they didn't really care about the rules. So they probably never provided rules for their dogs either.
Right. You want to get with your boy and see what's going on with him? I hear he's talking back there. He's good?
Yeah, I think they're good. That's just, I got a bully back there. She bark at the wind. So,
yeah. So I want to ask you a couple of questions, man, because you are the first trainer that I've met that get dogs that normal urban people don't have or don't desire to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got a Australian Shepherd, and now you have a Dalmatian. And the Dalmatian you have is not the typical white and black spots. It's the white and brown spots.
White and I found out about that when I got her. I'm like, these don't look black. She's like, nope, they're actually, this is a color that they come in, but nobody ever talks about it. You only hear about the black and white ones. So
my question is, well, you know, the Dalmatians are born with no spots and then they develop spots, right? Okay. So my question is, what made you choose those dogs, considering that I know that you have a 10-year-old, what was that pit that I got bit by? I took bites from.
That was Rocco. He $100 dog. So insert
right.
your
But he is 10 years old. He's what, 10?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what made you go from one extreme to a dog that is made for herding versus working protection, personal protection?
Well, I mean, it's a herding dog. I mean, German Shepherd is a herding dog. It was originally a herding dog. The Belgian Shepherd, all of these dogs were originally bred to herd. They had some type of drive. And then what we did was we just took their natural instinct to herd an animal and we put it to a man. So, I mean, I was like, well, Australian Shepherd, German Shepherd, let's see what we can do. And at the end of the day, you just show the dog what you want them to do and they're going to be there for you. And it wasn't like an easy process. It wasn't a linear, like, hey, like you get a Malinois, they're born, and the next thing you know, they're biting and tugging and holding on. Like, it wasn't that. Like, the genetics for him to bite and come off was so hard to get over, but I had to think outside the box. And I think I like the challenge. I like it because it's fun. It's not easy. If I go out with a dog every day and they do everything we want them to do, it gets boring after a while. And then at that point, now there's 1,000 Malinois that can do the same thing. If you don't have one, like I think the guy out in California, he has a dog named Monkey. Like that dog is drawing paint and everything else. Like that Malinois is impressive. But if you're doing that, I mean, it's pretty much a bum. But like you said, to come out and do some bite work, and now everybody's like, man, I ain't never seen that. Yes, but it's really not that far-fetched.
You know what's weird? Dude, it's like Chinatown, man. It's a million motherfucking Malinois out there, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not hating on the Malinois, but it's like, okay, here's the difference. So let's say you go to a PSA trial, and I'm getting one of my Dobies geared up for a mock trial next year at South Bay Malinois. My boy Titus, he's 11 months. He'll be ready by the time and we're gonna try to do a PDC on him.
Nice. And
when a Malinois, 90% of the trainers have Malinois or Dutch Mally, and nobody really like sit back like, wow, because that's what they do. That's like a Corvette. You know what speed it can go to, right? It's nothing exciting,
yep.
Right? They do good work, and they're grimy, and they're very durable, and most of them are light in the pants. You know, they're small. You know, but when you get like an Australian Shepherd or a Doberman or a Rottweiler, something you don't see in that sport alike a lot, people starts watching. So you're right. What you did is exactly what I would have done if I was a full-time dog trainer. I would get different breeds, challenge not only myself, but challenge the dog and let people see these dogs can do. It's not really all about the dog. It's usually all about the trainer.
Yeah. And I actually seen a meme. It's pretty funny. It says, a Malinois will make an average trainer look great. A Doberman will make them not want to train no more.
I'm telling you.
It's funny because you have the Dobies, and I mean, they're really that way because you can't do the same 1, 2, 3 concepts with the dog who is actually thinking. And that's not to say you don't have a thinking Malinois. I've seen some that are great, some really great, well-bred Mals. Some of the hardest biting dogs that I've ever taken a bite from have been Mals. But I didn't want that because, one, it's too much energy for me. I like to chill. Yeah, I want to go out. I'll work out. I'll do what I do. But I want to sit down and play the video game. And you having a Mal, they don't do that. And it takes a long time for them to do that. So I didn't want that. I personally don't like how they looked. I've never been a fan of pointy-eared dogs for whatever reason. It just never was my thing. So, like, I like the flopped ears on the pits. And when I actually met a guy named John Canine, he has a border collie named Maker, and that's a bad dog too. You might want to check him out too. Maker. It's a border collie. He tells him R. Kelly, he go fake pee on somebody.
Damn.
Yeah, that dog is nice. But he actually inspired me to get a herding dog. And I didn't want to go border collie, to completely copy him. But I was like, let me get something similar. And then a lady that we were doing some training with, her name's Stevie, she was like, hey, my friend breeds red merle Aussies. And I'm like, well, shit, red's my favorite color. Like, let's see what we can do with this. And it's a smaller, compact dog. Like you said, I don't need a big dog. I like to travel. I like to run. I like to do stuff. I like to go. And I don't need 100+ pound dog because they take up space. Like, I don't need that to make myself feel good as well. Because again, dogs have teeth, and that little 45-pound boot, even if you sit 300 pounds, he gonna let you know he was there. And that's enough time for me to get what I need off my hip. So, they're gonna do what they need to do. And I just liked him. And it's a pretty dog. I wanted a dog that I could take everywhere. Nobody's gonna be like, oh my God, that dog is so dangerous. But I wanted a dog that will still work if he need to.
Yeah.
They get kicked by bulls and go back. Nobody's kicking them as hard as a bull is. Nobody's punching them as hard as a bull. So if my dog can get kicked and keep coming back, I think I got a good thing on my hands.
I love it, man, when you had that motherfucker dialed in where you was that his first time going through that lake, that little river?
Yeah, I believe that was first time there.
He had the dog go through a river. Now, it was a 6-foot drop.
Yeah, at least.
6-foot drop, go through the river, then go up the 6-foot wall on the other side, about to bite the decoy, and then you do a recall. He comes back through the water, up the 6-foot wall, come back to you, and then send him again. Boom, dude! It was textbook. I mean, like, that shit should have went viral. It's just because you're not seeing that. You know what I'm saying? And I was fortunate to be the one to record it. Anyway, so I want to get back to some more interesting things because this show was supposed to be not only educational, informative, but enlightening, right? And I put my glass on. Motherfucker's blind. When you pick a puppy, what are you looking for that makes you say, I don't want the biggest one, I don't want the scariest one? What are you looking for characteristic wise, the intangibles?
So I'm looking for confidence. So when I actually went and picked up Boot, he was actually not the dog I was liking. He was not the best looking dog in the litter. And that's initially what we're going to go on. Damn, that's a good one. But then when I actually got there and put hands on the dog and saw how they were interacting, I changed my opinion about it. So I brought me a blank pistol, I brought me a can of rocks, and I brought me a tug, right? Because I wanted to test how they were around loud noises because we're going to be doing gunshots and everything else, how they would act with the cans, and then how if they had any amount of drive. And they were all pretty similar. And then the lady had he was probably 4 or 5 year old kid at the time, right? And he's done a lot with the puppies. So he grabbed one of them and he's running around, and he goes, whoop, and he tosses the dog up, and it was like a puddle that this dog landed in. And he hit the water, shook it off, walked out, didn't have any signs of insecurity. There wasn't like, oh my God, I just got flung over. He was like, well, where did he go? And he ran back toward the kid. So the kid climbed up some stairs and he ran up and jumped the stairs. I said, yep, that's the dog I want, because he was the only dog to do the stairs. And he was the only dog put through basically a traumatic experience by being thrown in water, and he didn't care about it. And even with the blank pistol, I shot it. He looked at me and he was like, and just walked off. I said, oh yeah, I think that's that one right there. And then, you know, we took him back from Arkansas. It was about a 5.5 hour drive back. Didn't get car sick. He slept the whole way. I was like, oh yeah, we on to something now. So, I mean, those are the things I'm looking for, is definitely confidence, drive. And then the last thing I'm going to look for is visually appealing, because you're going to spend more time with a dog you like looking at than a dog you like, man, this ugly some bitch. Like, I don't even want to do it. Like, it's just the truth. It's just the truth, man.
Yeah. I used to get caught up in that the aesthetics, right? And they had to be a certain size, but not always the biggest is going to be the best for me. And if I have to, one of my first black and tan Dobies, because remember my first Dobie was a chocolate one. One of my first black and tan Dobie I got from a breeder called Bickerstaff Dobermans. His name is Percy Bickerstaff. Actually, his brother is Bernie Bickerstaff, the NBA coach. And I'm not going to talk about the whole purchasing aspect. It's just, that's a different topic. But I remember when I got him, he was just what I wanted: tall, nice, and dark, right? And then Lewis Williams of Black Mass Kennel was putting them. We had them chained up. You know, all of them lined up with the harness on and the chain to do rag work, prey drive work, right? Building prey drive. Yeah. And I noticed my dog was just looking around like, these other dogs are acting a fool. I'm not gonna do that. I was like, and I'm like, well, this is what dogs do. And it took almost 4 months for him to start going crazy over the rag. And I knew from that point that, number one, my trainer should have said, hey, he ain't cut out for it. Number two is the aspect of, once I got rid of him, because I paid good money. I paid $2,500 for him. That's good money back in 2011.
Yeah.
And I got rid of him for free, because I knew if I keep him after he was 10 or 11 months, if I keep him, he's going to cost me more money than what it's worth. And when I got the imported mail from the champion parents, it was called Shitson then, and how this little motherfucker at 3 months of age was cutting up on day one, like he'd been doing this for years. Mm-hmm. I said, that's the difference. That's something to build on. So for me, my dog that I pick out has to have good tangible confirmation, of course. And, you know, I don't want white spots on a Doberman, of course. That's a defect. Don't do blues and fawns and whites. Those are defects. They got to be of the breed standard. And after that, I wait to pick them when they're like 6 weeks old, 5, 6 weeks. I want to see like who's kicking ass, who's taking all the food, who fights over food, who's running the pack, because, you know, the pack litter changes almost every week.
Yep.
So that's how I choose. But not everybody wants what I want. Some people want a laid back dog that looks like a Corvette, but you can pop the hood. He got a 4-cylinder engine in it.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. And that's what I tell people. You need to know what kind of dog you want. If you want a working dog, you need to pick these characteristics. If you want just a chill companion, like, you can have a dog who looks good but ain't gonna bust a grape in a fruit fight. Me personally, I want to do stuff for my dogs, and that doesn't mean I want the biggest, baddest, toughest dog in the litter that nobody can be around. And I'm not looking for that either. I want a dog who has good temperament, but at the same time, we can build on his genetics and we can build on that drive. And it's funny you say that, used to stay in the breed standard. When the dog that I was originally picking out, he only had one patch on his eye, right? And in the Aussie standard, I learned this after the fact, they need to have 2 patches on their eyes. If they have a solid colored eye, like with no coloring around it, they can't be confirmed. They're not.
They can't go. They can't go in the shows.
Yes, it's that's a defect, and I
Yeah.
didn't know that. The lady told me, she was like, "Man, that first pup that you were going to pick, I wasn't going to say anything because that's the dog that you said you like, but I'm glad you picked the one that you did." I was like, I wish you would have said something. That would have made my decision easier. But it was a learning experience. And then at the end of the day, the genetics came through where the dog who was what he's supposed to be did everything that he's supposed to. And it's been fun working with Boot. I mean, he's been definitely a different style dog than we're used to. It's not an easy path. And I mean, we still got work to do. He's 2 years old, and there's still some stuff that we got to, build more confidence in this. But again, he was a dog who was designed to survive. He was a dog that was designed not to take stick hits and to get kicked. And now we're teaching him, hey, you actually do take these and you just bite harder. Like, that's what we want you to do.
You don't let go to bite. Yeah. Another question, like, how should I say this? What are the things you're doing? I've seen some of the things you're doing online. Of course, that's not everything. But what are you doing to build foundations with your new puppy? Like, what are the standard things you do to all your personally owned puppies as far as foundation work? I see you do a lot of attention with food, and I see you do a lot of that. Do you do a lot of obedience, or you do minimal corrections? Because they got brains like babies. Like attention span is like 2 minutes.
Yeah. So those 2 minutes, I get the most out of those 2 minutes that I can. And I'm only going to work with a puppy when they want to work. And I'm not going to make them work because I don't want them to be like, oh my God, I'm going to go run and chase a squirrel. Like, I want anytime they look at me, they're like, oh, we're about to get something out of it. So yeah, early on, I do a lot of food stuff. I've had a ride for about 3 weeks now, and I really haven't even given her an actual command. I'm just luring her into positions because I want to get the speed before I label it. So as fast as Boot moves, I mean, you edit videos, or you've been around people who edit videos, and there's some videos you watch of other people's dogs, and you're like, that's not natural movement. That dog is being sped up to look like it's moving faster. I want my dog to move fast because that's the only way they know how to do the commands. So early on, I'm luring in a lot of positions, and I'm getting that speed before I label it. I do a lot of clicker stuff. I want to build a lot of confidence in the dogs. So I'm going to take them out, get them in playgrounds, I took her to a drifting event where people are basically in loud cars, skidding tires and everything else. And I just got her, I'm holding her. Like, I just want her to know that, hey, yes, you're going to be in situations where you may not be 100% comfortable, but if I'm telling you to go, or I'm bringing you in these situations, that you can overcome it because we're working together. So the first 16 weeks of the dog's life, I just want to build a lot of confidence in me alone, and then start exposing them to other people, other dogs and stuff. So they know that basically I'm the foundation of everything. And if I'm telling them that they can do these things, if they can go through these things, and then not only telling them that they can, showing them that they're going to get something out of it as well.
Right.
So food is is what I use a lot, because you can get a lot of reps in very quickly, especially if you have something that's soft. They eat it and come back and get another rep in. So when I'm doing obstacles, when I'm putting them, the pool of confidence, when I'm getting them on the treadmill, like, I'm using food because I want them thinking about everything they're going through, not just reacting. When you bring out the tugs and you bring out those different drivers, like, they're not actually thinking. They're like, oh my God, I got to get it. I'm not going to get it. Versus, do I really want to go through this for food? Like, that's not a very high stimuli. But if we can get them to do those things after they're comfortable, then we're going to have that tug, because now they know what they're supposed to do. And now we can amp it up as high as we really want them. So,
you know what's interesting? That everybody has a different method, and I tried something new with Donnell at South Bay Malinois. So in theory, I'm always building foundation for a protection sport, because it's a dance, right? It's a routine. So what we're doing different now with my puppy Titus is that we're bringing out all the aggression, all of the prey drive, hardly no obedience, no real corrections.
Mm-hmm.
And we getting them focused on the decoy. So now and we're doing a lot of civil work too. So now when the decoy's in front of him, he's on the table doing table work, or even on the field, Titus, when we say watch him, he's firing up on his decoy who doesn't have anything on, doesn't have the sleeve, doesn't have a wedge, doesn't have a ball, doesn't have a whip. He knows, like, I still want you, no matter if you got these things that I really, really love.
Mhm.
And then once we get that dialed in, we add the sleeve in because that's the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm realizing this now, like, wow, we should have been doing this a long time ago. That way the intensity will always be there, you know. So yeah, I like that. And I got another question. This is a touchy one, and this is gonna bother some people, but I don't give a shit because you gotta have control of your animal. Harness or choker or prong, harness or collar when you're walking a dog.
Oh, I was gonna say it depends what we're doing with the dog.
When you're walking a dog, just
I mean, definitely, if we're walking a dog, yeah, I'm using a slip chain, I'm using a slip lead or a prong collar. Just because harnesses were designed for dogs to pull more comfortably. And people are like, oh, I don't want to choke the dog out. Okay, well, you want this dog to pull you in the street? They're like, well, no. I was like, okay, cool, get control of the dog. And then, but the beautiful part about it is I want to use my voice be more powerful. I want my voice to be more powerful than any equipment that's on the dog. Because if the dog only knows how to walk on a harness or only knows how to walk on a prong collar, e-collar, whatever, they're not really understanding what you're wanting from them. So yes, the rules are going to be training wheels regardless of what you're using. And I want to get away from those as quickly as possible because in an oh shit situation, it's not going to be ideal. You're not going to have the prong on the dog. You're not going to have this on the dog, but you still want to be able to tell your dog to come back to me or not run in the street or something like that. So I don't ever really want to rely on tools, at all. If we can, there's going to be some dogs that you're going to have to use a prong collar on because they're just obnoxious. And getting away from those blockheads, those stubborn pit bulls and Roddy style dogs, like getting a herding dog. I've actually had to become a softer handler because you raise your voice at an Aussie and he's like, oh my God, the world is over, and he don't want to do nothing. Versus
right.
I can scream and yell and body slam and do everything else, and he's like, I'm gonna try it again, like. So it's just been a different, style of dog. But you got to know your dog as well. There's a dog that I actually had to train with only a harness because he had trachea issues. So, there's a time and a place for everything, but primarily I'm going with, like you said, control over the comfort of the dog because the dogs that we have, we need to make sure that they are under control in any situation because they can really hurt somebody and not even being really meaning to.
I say this story before, and I'll tell you. So it's with Alonzo, the red one. I used to live in this gated community in Inglewood, and they're houses, but the houses are like 6 feet apart from each other, right? And it's right there by the it's the Ram Stadium now, but it used to be a racetrack for horses. And usually I let Alonzo out through the backyard and through the house, through the front door, because I don't like dealing with that rotten ass fence, that wooden fence that's really hard to pick up. We just go right to the house and go walking. Mm-hmm. That day, bro, the law of probability was not on my side. As soon as I opened the goddamn door, who's coming to my front door? The mailman. And I didn't have a leash on Alonzo. And as soon, what is the natural instinct for this mailman to do is what?
To run. He
ran. And trust me, he wasn't going to make it to that goddamn truck, that van that fast. And as soon as Alonzo ran through my legs, he went after the postman. I said, Alonzo, couché. That means down in French. I speak French to all my dogs. Mm-hmm. And he went down just like that. Do you know I could have lost every fucking thing monetarily? Because first of all, my insurance company didn't know that I had a fucking Doberman. Right? The HOA I didn't tell the HOA over there that I had a Doberman. And I spend good money on training. This ain't no fucking $200 a month shit, right? My trainers charge premium rates. and they're really training you to handle your dog. So I from that point, I said, wow, all of the thousands and thousands of dollars that I spent on training, it paid off, because at some point that dog's going to get away from your ass.
Mhm.
And the question is, will he listen when that leash is dropped? That's the key.
Or better yet, are you going to know what to do when the leash drops? And I mean,
Boom.
the most important thing. And I mean, like you said, people always, well, I want to do a board and train. And I always tell them, hey, if you can do private sessions, they're going to be more beneficial for you, because I can get your dog to do whatever and they're going to listen to me. But is that dog going to listen to you? Is that dog going to basically kind of respect what you're saying to it? And especially if you're not spending any time, or the dog does something one time and you don't correct it, the dog knows that your words don't mean anything. So
Yeah.
I always push people, do private sessions with your dog. Yes, it's a little bit more time consuming, but
Yeah.
you have a better relationship, because in that situation, you need to know what to do for the dog.
Right.
And I had a shepherd. Her name was Oku, and she really wasn't that good of a dog, but I knew how to put her in situations and communicate what she needed, so she looked like a damn good dog, because
Yeah.
putting her in the best situation to be successful. And she wasn't a bad dog. I'm not going to say that, but she just wasn't as good as she should. I mean, as I made her look. And we went and won 3 competitions back to back with a lot better dogs than her, because I just knew how to control her. I knew how to communicate with her. And it's the same thing with Boot. Like, I could give Boot to somebody else and he ain't gonna perform half as good as he does for me, just because I know how to communicate with him. And I know how to make sure that he understands that, hey, we're working together in this. And if I'm telling you to do something, you at least got to try. So
Yeah.
the relationship you have with the dog is so much more important than people really give credit to.
That's true. So what are the biggest mistakes you see with your clients who new clients who come to you that want their dog trained? Is it them not knowing what they need, or is it them not knowing what their dog's capable of doing, or is it bad imprinting when they bring the dog to you? What are the most common issues you find when people are bringing their dog to you for training?
Well, I mean, the first thing is they want it too fast. You know, they bring me a dog at 2 years old that they've never done anything with, no foundation, no confidence, no nothing. And they're like, hey, I want him to be Rocco. Oh, I want him to be Boot. And it's like, no, you don't have that dog. Like you just don't. And then when you tell people that, they don't want to accept it.
They don't want to hear it.
I'm not saying that you have a bad dog. You just don't have as good a dog as you think. You don't have a dog that's going to be able to do the things that Rocco does. Rocco did a lot of stuff, and I labeled it and marked it after the fact. You know, I don't think I even told you, like, another thing that got me into dogs is I had torn my meniscus in college. So I physically couldn't do certain things that I wanted to do, but my dog could. So he was kind of like basically my replacement, my avatar that, you know, we could compete again, we can do sports and all of that. So there was things that he was doing that he just was good at. And I was like, okay, I'm going to call that this. I'm going to call that that. And if your dog doesn't have those, you know, those intangibles, I can't make your dog be something that it's not. I can make your dog be better, but I can't make your dog be something that it's not. If you give me a dog that only has the capacity to be a 5, I'll make your dog the best 5 that it is, but I can't make him a 10. He just doesn't have it. Even if I put more pressure on it, I will break your dog before they get to the point that you want to get to. And people, again, it's hard for them to accept that because people are spending a lot of money on these dogs and they're like, well, it's this kind of dog. Okay, cool. All black people aren't going to the NBA. All black people aren't running a 4.4 in the 40. So just because you're black doesn't mean anything. Yes, does it help? Yeah, it helps a little bit. But
Gift is in the door.
Yeah, but you're not going to be LeBron. You know,
Right.
Nothing that I can do physically to be LeBron James. I'm not going to grow another 1.5 feet. I'm not going to gain another 150 pounds. There's nothing that I can do. And you just have to be realistic about that. Am I still a good athlete? Am I still good at what I am? Yeah, damn sure you are, you know, right about that. But you have to have realistic expectations. And some people come with fantasies for their dogs, and then they don't want to put in the work or pay the money that it's going to take. Because to have a well-trained protection dog, I mean, it takes anywhere between 3 to 8 months, and that's being generous. But if you don't have the dog that can do it, it's going to take longer, and it may not even be to the caliber of, like, I've had puppies that are better than some grown dogs, just because they were bred for it, and these grown dogs weren't. And it just, you have to have realistic expectations whenever you're working.
Yeah.
And you bought a show dog. Basically, he looked good, he was pretty, he did everything else. He stood there and looked good, but when you asked him to work, he was like, "Nah, I'm not getting my nails dirty."
Motherfucker ain't working, man. I didn't know. I didn't know the signs, man.
Yeah.
Let's take some comments and some stuff. Did you see that one right there by Procrastinating Key? He said this would be cool to see a Doberman do bite work. I think Stan got that on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean, we got some Dobies. I actually got a Dobie. We do some bite work. I'll record a video tomorrow and post it.
I'm telling you, they said they want to see Dalmatian do bite work.
Oh, the Dalmatian. Yeah. We definitely on that one. She has drive. She has confidence. She likes to play tug. Yeah, she's gonna be nice. But that's the thing. People don't realize. I've been reading. I actually did some reading. I hate fucking reading, but I definitely need to read a little bit more to expand. But Dobermans used to run, or not Dobermans, Dalmatians used to run around the carriage, and they would run in front. And if somebody was there, they had to decide whether do I want to get this person off the track or just leave them alone. So they have intelligent dogs and protectors, and they have to do these things without somebody basically telling them what to do. So it's pretty cool. They have a natural instinct to be a protection dog. And I think they are assholes. I can see that she's going to be that kind of dog, but you need that kind of dog as well if you are going to be doing any protection work.
Yeah, you need a little edge.
It's going to be fun channeling that, that assholeness, as we like to call it, into what we want. And a female dog, I think, is going to be a lot easier than a male. So yeah, she's protection.
Now, who is it? Are you going to do protection with Ray? Is Ray R-E-Y?
It's Rye.
Rye.
Just like the whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah, we will do some stuff with Rye. We'll just see how far we can take her.
Let me see here.
She should be up to about 65 pounds, so she's not going to be a small dog, but I think she's going to be what we want.
Hey man, I'm enjoying this, man. You know, I'm coming down there next weekend, right?
Yeah, we will be there. We'll get some work in.
Yeah, I'm coming down next weekend, trying to get Rich. Make sure Rich said he's coming. Rich DeBerry.
Yeah, he's supposed
to be coming, so it's gonna be dope, man. But listen, man, that's my call right there. But man, listen, it was great having you on the show, man. We got to do this again.
Definitely.
Always short and sweet, be informative, enlightened, but entertaining. But again, man, I always say, man, having a dog is a luxury, not a requirement. Be responsible, people. And what do you say at the end of yours all the time, Stan?
Hey, just take care of your dogs.
There you go. All right, take care, people.
We appreciate y'all, man. Stay tuned, man. We got a lot more coming.
There you go.